Hello students, in this session we are going to deal with an interesting aspect from the pen of William Shakespeare, one of the greatest dramatists ever witnessed by any of us in the course of literature. He has written 13 comedies, 13 historical plays, 6 tragedies, 154 sonnets, 4 tragicomedies and 3 long poems. He was born on 23rd of April 1564 to John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. William was the third child of the 8 children born to the Shakespeares. A very little is known about his childhood except he studied in Stratford Grammar School. In 1582, at the age of 18, he married Anne Hathaway, who was elder to him by 8 years. The very next year, they were blessed by Susanna Shakespeare, and 2 years later by the twins Judith and Hamlet. In 1616, Shakespeare's youngest daughter Judith married Thomas Pinney, and 2 months later William Shakespeare died at the age of 52 on his birthday in 1616. He was buried in the Stratford Parish Church, Stratford. After knowing about the poet, now we are going to deal with the thematic concerns of the poem, All the World's a Stage. All the world's a stage is a very famous phrase which is used all over the world by many number of people. We need to know the historical background or the background to the play itself. As You Like It is a comedy written by William Shakespeare, and the present sonnet or the present extract is taken from the play, especially from Act 2, Scene 7, and it is spoken by one of the melancholy characters named Jacks. He is the mouthpiece of William Shakespeare, and William Shakespeare is trying to present the philosophical implications about the human life through this character. So far, the story of the play is, it rotates around the theme of usurpation and couple of characters named Rosalind and Senior Duke. Rosalind is a female character who is given utmost importance in the course of the drama, and she disguises herself just to protect the interest of herself and her father as well. She used to live with her uncle, Uncle Frederick or Duke Frederick, who also proved to be the usurper, who has usurped the dukeship of his own brother, of his own elder brother, Senior Duke, and forcefully driven his brother to the forest of Arden. Unwillingly, Senior Duke, along with his friends, has to live in the forest of Arden in exile. In the course of time, similar kind of thing happens with Rosalind as well. Ultimately, she is also forcefully driven by Duke Frederick out of the state, and she disguises as Ganymede, and along with Celia and a gesture touchstone, she leaves the state and comes down to the forest of Arden to accompany her father. After gathering over there, a reunion takes place, and she falls in love with Orlando, and the play ends with a happy note when a couple of marriages took place. In the meantime, Frederick also realizes his mistake. He is brought to the proper track of life, and again Senior Duke is given the dukeship, followed by the rest of the people, again reunited in the course of time and living happily at the end of the play. So, unless we know the background of the poem, probably it will be difficult for us to understand the sonnet written by William Shakespeare.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mooling and puking in a nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, turning again to a childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sun's teeth, sun's eyes, sun's taste, sun's everything.
Now, we are going to look into the poem quite textually. So far, the extract, that is, all the world's stage is concerned, as it is mentioned earlier, it is spoken by a melancholy character, Jacks, who is the mouthpiece of William Shakespeare himself. The philosophy of life is being presented by the character Jacks, as he says in the text. See the beginning of the sonnet itself. All the world's a stage. The beginning itself is very much suggestive.